lesson is about clauses, and actually this lesson has quite a few new words, so pay close attention, and I'm suggesting that you might want to watch this video more than once. Okay, a clause is a group of words that has a subject, which is who or what the sentence is about. It can be a person, a place, an animal, or anything. It's a noun, and it has a verb as well. So a clause has a subject and a verb, an action word. Okay, and it is only part of a complete sentence. Could be part of a compound sentence or part of something called a complex sentence. Now, when you've studied compound sentences before, compound sentences are two small sentences that can be joined together by the words and, or but, okay, and we will see examples of them later on. And a complex sentence is a little bit different, and I'll go into detail about it later on, okay? But let me tell you that there are two kinds of clauses as well. So one kind is called a dependent clause and the other kind is called an independent clause, and I will go on to define their meanings for you so that you can understand what the difference between an independent clause and a dependent clause. An independent clause, okay, is the group of words. It can usually stand on its own as a complete sentence. It makes sense on its own, okay? So if I read the part of the sentence that is the independent clause, it makes sense. It can be a complete sentence on its own, whereas the dependent clause cannot stand on its own. It usually doesn't make sense. It's not a complete meaning, or there are too many words. Some words need to be removed for it to make sense. And then I have an example here of a compound sentence. You know, a compound sentence is two small sentences that can be joined together using the conjunctions and, or, but, so, yet. In the example I've used here is of the two small sentences that are joined together by the conjunction but. So this is a compound sentence. Ahmad is a good soccer player, but Ali is better at basketball. So let me first tell you the two small sentences that were joined together using the word but. So Ahmad is a great soccer player. That is a complete sentence. Okay, that's an independent clause. Okay, Ali is better at basketball. That would also be an independent clause, but since we have added the word but Ali is better at basketball, now it has made it into a dependent clause because it doesn't make sense. But Ali is better at basketball. It can't stand on its own as a sentence, okay? It doesn't make sense. So this is the dependent clause. And this is a compound sentence. They were two small sentences joined by the word but. Okay? An example of a sentence with a dependent clause and an independent clause here. Jannah was happy, but her sister wasn't. And again, this is a compound sentence. The two small sentences would have been Jannah was happy, and without but, her sister wasn't. Those two are two independent clauses or two small sentences that were joined together to make one big sentence. Okay, the independent clause is Jannah was happy, and the dependent clause but her sister wasn't, because but her sister wasn't doesn't make sense on its own. It cannot stand alone here. But her sister wasn't, it doesn't make sense. So I'm just repeating again to remind you, okay? The independent clause can stand on its own as a complete sentence. Jannah was happy, makes perfect sense. The dependent clause is an incomplete sentence. It cannot stand on its own. But her sister wasn't cannot be a sentence on its own. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, some more examples here. Okay, again, if my first example is of a compound sentence. Kenzie ate her sandwich in the lunchroom, and she drank her juice outside. Okay, the independent clause is Kenzie ate her sandwich in the lunchroom. That can stand on its own as a complete sentence. And she drank her juice outside. That is the dependent, because you cannot just write this on its own. And she drank her juice outside. It doesn't make sense. On its own, it is a dependent clause. Okay. Now, my next example is of a complex sentence, and this time I wanted to show you that your dependent clause can come first. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the second part of your sentence. Okay, I've started my complex sentence with the dependent clause. Because Salma was good at tennis, she represented her class in the school's tennis tournament. Okay, and the dependent clause here, because Salma was good at tennis. Okay, can I write this on its own as a sentence? Because Salma was good at tennis, full stop? No, it doesn't make sense. She represented her class in the school's tennis tournament. That's your independent clause, because it can be a complete sentence on its own. She represented her class in the school's tennis tournament. It makes perfect sense as a sentence on its own. And here we've started by using the conjunction because. Okay, so because can be at the beginning of a sentence, but it has to be like this. Okay, you can't just write because Salma was good at tennis, full stop. See, you have to continue and explain, yeah, what happens because she's good at tennis. Okay, and another example of a complex sentence. Miss Nihad helped us with our project so that we could finish it on time. So your independent clause here, Miss Nihad helped us with our project. That can stand on its own as a complete sentence. So that we could finish on time, so that we could finish it on time, that cannot stand on its own. Yeah, so that we could finish it on time, yeah, and see, it doesn't make sense on its own. That's your dependent clause. Now here are some conjunctions that are used in compound and complex sentences. You know, and, but, or, so, yet, although, because, while, and however. And because this has been a long lesson, so I think that's enough for today, and I will be making another video again as a revision for you about clauses, okay, and giving you some more examples. Thank you for now. Bye bye.